Well, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Or should I say good morning or good evening, depending on where you are joining us from live right now. We are coming to you live from, for my case, it's Sherwood Park, Alberta. And for our guest today, he's joining us from the big city of Calgary, Alberta. So, where they have the biggest show on earth, biggest outdoor show on earth this time around, typically every year. But with COVID, our guest is able to join us with a little bit less maybe activities outdoors than typical of this time of the year. But let me just see here, or maybe the show has just finished in terms of the timing. But anyway, welcome to another episode of Conversations with Dune and Friends. And today we have a fantastic guest joining us all the way from Calgary, Alberta here. We're going to introduce him first before having him join us on screen here, folks. But before we get rolling, if our guests out there, if our viewers can tell us if you can hear us or hear me right now nice and loud, that would be great. So let me know if there's any audio issues coming out. I did test it beforehand, but always good to double check. So let me introduce our guest here. Mr. Russ Dantu. So Russ Dantu is really at your service. He's an employee and customer retention specialist. Now, for over 20 years, Russ Dantu has inspired, informed, and motivated thousands of customer service professionals. He says customer service is really a lost art. So customer service is a lost art, he says, and he's committed to revisiting that art for his workshop participants and keynote audiences. Now, after 32 years of customer service training and study, Russ is a valued expert. His clients, including Volkswagen, Subway, and Investors Group, Canadian Home Builders Association, Edmonton Region, and Calgary Residential Rental Association, and Kanvi Homes, and the Calgary Real Estate Board, and they've all have benefited from improved corporate culture, employee retention, and customer loyalty. Now, he is the author of the Strategy Fill book, At Your Service, a guide to delivering exceptional customer service. He's also the creator of the 90-minute audio set called Service Excellence, 10 Steps to Superior Customer Service. In his regular column at the At Your Service in Canadian Rental Service magazine, Russ shares his tips and tools on to take our customer service from average to awesome. Now, Russ owns two successful small businesses and believes that customer service customer service practice will either make or break a business. His sessions are known as really to elevate and really elevate a new appreciation of what superior customer service can accomplish. So with that introduction, let's have you join me in welcoming our guest today, all the way from Calgary, Mr. Russ Dantu. Russ, how are you doing today, my friend? Welcome to our conversation here for an hour and a bit.
Hey, good day, Dune. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here with you.
Yeah, wonderful. Now, your intro or your bio that I've sort of been through left out a few things. So I would love for you to maybe fill in a few gaps for us. For example, you've been involved with the Canadian Association of Professional Speakers and your capacity there. Tell us a bit about that. Tell us about your, just expand on your kind of introduction a bit before we get into some Q&A, as well as some videos and photo sharing and just really learning more about you and what you can bring to our viewers out there. So tell us more about your background, Russ.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Dune. You know, I've been speaking, professionally for well over 20 years now. I joined CAPS, the Canadian Association of Professional Speakers, about 4.5 years ago. I was speaking professionally part-time, but I also had another full-time job. So when I joined that, I did their fast track program, which was all about the business of speaking professionally, and it was very beneficial. And right away, I joined as a member because I loved what they do. And what we do is we bring in 2 or 3 speakers every month, usually live. The last few months, I had to do it virtually, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's all about growing your business, and it can be transferable too. It's not just for speakers. So we have lots of guests that come out just to hear certain speakers that'll talk about marketing or videos or social media, or how to present to close that sale, that sort of thing. So we always have a great lineup. I've been on the board now. I'm coming up to 4 complete years. I did 2 years as secretary, and now I'm in my 2nd year as president, and it's been a wonderful experience. So
yeah. There you go. Well, most people do it for 1 year. They just couldn't get enough of you. In fact, we couldn't get enough of you because as of about a year ago now, it's been that I've now been a member of the Calgary chapter as well. Now that we don't have the Edmonton chapter anymore, and good afternoon, Mr. President, is what I'm going to say.
No, I'm here to serve the members. That's it. So, and I had to do 2 years because you know what? The first year it's just getting into it, and I think sometimes a 2-year term is better because the second year everything's in place, all the systems, and you can really roll with some better ideas to help the customer experience, which is all about it. Yeah.
Wonderful, absolutely. CAPS is a wonderful place to support. To learn, to share, to grow, and belong. Did I get the 4 correctly, sir?
There. Very good.
So tell us more, though. You own 2 businesses. Tell us more about that. And in fact, you have some products for the COVID times as well, right? Or tell us about that. Tell us about your businesses.
You know what I do. So I'm a full-time professional speaker, and I teach customer service, and I also teach presentation skills. I get asked for that a lot. My main focus, though, is I seem to do really well speaking with municipalities and home builders. Home builders seem to like what I have to say as well. But I mean, I'm across the board. I mean, customer service is for all industries. My second business is selling branded promotional products and corporate apparel. So like a golf shirt with your logo on.
Yeah.
A couple of things here that I can share. If you want to get a custom mask made, look at this one for you, Dune, would be really good. Whoa,
there you go. That would be great for some of the some of the shows I play.
Right. Maybe a psychedelic one.
There you go.
60s. But we do all sort of custom ones. So if somebody wants to put their company name up the side, we can definitely do that as well. And I'm selling like thousands of masks the last month and a half. It was pretty cool there for a while. I got hit very hard, but it's picking up again. And now that masks are becoming mandatory in Alberta, and several of the other provinces are looking at it as well, and all the different municipalities are looking at it. I've already had 3 orders this morning for more masks for people. So it's I didn't really think I'd ever be selling branded masks. I keep it to apparel and promotional products. Like your water bottles and things like that. I mean, we have access to over 1 million things. So but hey, if masks is what people want, so I guess I got to go there.
You bet. You are you're there to serve, and that there are people who are really great speakers who are not necessarily business oriented in their thinking and in their habits and approach, and there's people who are very good business people who would just be really shy and really bad at public speaking and professional speaking. Here we have in you really both of those. You're very much a business person, deep in it for decades, but also deep into the professional speaking. For our folks out there who are watching who may be Toastmasters, belong to Toastmasters or aware of Toastmaster, tell us about your Toastmasters journey as well and where it culminated, because that's an interesting thing that frankly most of us who speak for a living don't necessarily have. So you also have that third side of you, again, the business side, running a business for decades, professional speaking and training, doing that full time, and also having had a very rich history in Toastmasters, and in fact still plugged into that. Tell us about Toastmasters. We'll start there.
Yeah, thanks, Dune. And you know what? I've been a Toastmaster since May of 1997. So I'm 23. I'm in my 24th year now. And the reason I joined Toastmasters was I was working in a trade show company. We were doing the decorating. So setting up all your drape booths, your tables, your carpet, your power, custom hardwall booths, things like that. And I was running the sign shop. part of it, but also working on the floor still. And I had a long 25-year career in that, started in junior high school. But my manager asked all of the employees one day, he says, look, I need somebody to start doing like a 2-hour seminar, making the most of your trade show experience for
Yeah.
exhibitors. So we dealt with show managers, and they had all these exhibitors, and a lot of them were first time coming into a show. So they wanted us to create a program, a 2-hour evening thing on making the most of your trade show experience, the do's and don'ts of boothmanship. So I said to Chuck, my manager, I said, I think I could do that. And he said, okay, great. He said, let's have a look at it. And he says, you know what, you're getting into sales more. Join a couple of associations to help you. So I joined a Northeast Calgary Business Association where we met once a month and learned how to network a little bit better. And then I joined Toastmasters and I started learning my platform skills. So soon after I joined Toastmasters, I had to write this 2-hour program
Mm-hmm.
on making the most of your trade show experience. So I sort of got my start in professional speaking from my early Toastmasters experience. Now I've been there, like I said, 24 years, so I'm in my 24th year now, and I go now just to practice material, to see what other people are doing. I get some little insights on what might work well. We've got some very humorous speakers in our district, and I always tap into what they're doing because I find that valuable, because I struggle with humor, and a lot of people say, oh, you're funny. Off the cuff, I'm funny. So if I'm doing breakout sessions, I just add humor and I can ad lib off of what other people are saying. But if I'm writing material, it takes me a lot longer than a true humorist. So it's been a really great gift. And yeah, I mean, I love competing as well, and Toastmasters offers that opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously, Toastmaster speeches and professional speeches are two totally different things. So
Yes.
Toastmasters is a great place to practice material and get rid of the nerves and learn
Yeah.
how to speak in public.
Yeah.
But it's a definite shift when you turn professional, because if you're not on, boy, you won't get paid the next time, or you won't get asked back. So you've got to be
Yeah.
at the top of
Yeah.
your game all the time.
Yeah, you bet.
Yeah.
Exactly. So thank you for sharing that. And now you didn't get into it. You actually went international competition and placed and all of that. You left that out, my friend. Why don't you tell us a bit about that? Don't be modest. Don't be modest. You've been there. You've been at
Okay.
international competition and won a few trophies. Tell us about those.
You know what? I've been competing in the international speech contest since the year 2000, and I don't do it every year. If I don't have material that I think will resonate with an audience, won't inspire and motivate them, then I'll back off and I'll watch other people and help coach other people that are competing as well. But since 2000, I've won our district title 4 times. And so I've gone on to the semifinals of Toastmasters International 4 times, and I've been to the finals in 2015. I made it to the finals, and that year it was out of 33,000 people around the world that competed. I made it to the top 10, and there's a little bit of a joke there. We say I finished tied for 4th because they only announced 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. The rest of us were tied for 4th. But my coach was a former world champion. He said, Russ, you were 4th or 5th that year, for sure. So, and I do trust him with that opinion. So
Yeah.
it was an incredible experience. I got to speak in the finals in Caesar's Palace in front of almost 2,500 people on a huge stage. So it was a thrill of a lifetime.
And now tell us how many thousands of people typically compete for that spot that you got to be in,
Yeah, well, in 2015, there were over 33,000 people from around the world. In 2018, when I made it back to the semis, there was over 35,000 people. So as Toastmasters grows around the world and more districts come into place, there's just more people that are competing. So, but it's an absolute rush. It's a thrill. There's so much camaraderie that goes on between the competitors. You're going up against some of your best friends. But you wish them well, and they wish you well. And if they beat you, they beat you. And you help them. And if you win, they help you.
Well, thank you for sharing that. A little bit more about Toastmasters. We want to highlight that too, because you're a man of many talents, and all these things converge. And when they hire somebody who is helping them with customer service, they're not just getting a customer service expert, they're getting a customer service expert who is deep in business with decades of business experience and also decades of speaking experience. And as an extra bonus, you are no stranger to high performance speaking, in contests. And that's just another side that sort of adds to it, right? Some people, are very comfortable with speaking in front of maybe a group of 20 or something like that, but
Right.
to be speaking in front of 1,000 on a contest in an international world stage level, shooting for the World Public Speaking Championship is not something that most of us are, kind of familiar with. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. You're very good for my ego, dude. You're way too kind.
So I want to share your website briefly. Tell us about what's on your website, and then we're going to jump right after that to your speaker demo reel here. So here we are. We're on your website. Tell us about what people might find on your website there. Let me see if I can go ahead and share that screen there, and I will bring it in and make myself scarce here from the screen perspective. Tell us about this.
Cool. Thanks, Dune. Well, on my website, I do have it set up mainly promoting all of my customer service, because that's my main focus. I want to get out there and help individuals and businesses up their customer service. But on some of my drop downs, it'll say services, and it'll tell you the other services I provide. So I also do the presentation skills, and I do so I do customer service, I do the presentation skills, and yes, I also speak to youth. So sometimes when I'm out of town and I'm brought in by a corporation to speak, I'll say to them, is there a school around that you would like me to speak at? Because I do have a presentation. I used to be part of a group called Alienation, and we went into schools in Alberta, and we just shut it down actually earlier this year because schools have had their budgets decimated. And they have to decide, well, do we want to get new computers or do we want to bring in a speaker? And obviously with COVID right now, I mean, there's just no way they're going to be looking at bringing in speakers and having, 700 kids sit on a gym floor next to each other. So right now I've backed away from the youth presentations, but I love giving back to youth as well.
Yeah,
So,
let me sort of highlight that a bit and make sure our viewers are aware of the level you operated at with that. You were, performing a very, very high energy show to many different schools throughout the year, and for many years with a group of performers that you bring with you, I think, if I remember correctly, and you do that at a very energetic and high kind of almost rock star level, actually, to be honest. And the fact that it is now parked aside with COVID reality and potentially for the next little while doesn't diminish the fact that you have a very long running and quite successful run with that. So tell us about how that translates into your perhaps corporate clients. Obviously, the students are different age group and their concerns are different, but a high performing kind of person on that kind of a stage translate quite well to corporate events as well, I would imagine.
Yeah, I think it does. And you know what? I mean, we geared our performance in schools to sort of target junior high school, grades 7, 8, and 9 as the majority of our presentations. We did do as low as grade 4, 5, and 6 in a few schools. We had parents sit in there when we said, look, some of the material here may be a little bit too deep. That because we started talking about bullying, racism, drugs, alcohol, suicide, acceptance, peer pressure, and so we warned the parents ahead of time, and they said, no, we want to hear it and see what it's about, and they gave us some feedback after, and they were very happy that we actually brought it up with their kids, because in today's society, everything's starting at a much younger age, even younger than when I started. I'll just say it. I was smoking drugs when I was in grade 7. Now it's down in grade 4 and 5. It's out there. If parents don't think it is, then it isn't. So I think corporations can take advantage of using this just to show their support for the community. So if you want to sponsor bringing somebody like myself in, or other wonderful speakers that speak in schools, I think it's a great idea to show your community spirit and your community support. Is that answer your question?
And with the virtual events these days, that allows them to actually do it for multiple schools at the same time. How about the whole city of Calgary? How about the whole Alberta province of Alberta or Canada all together in one show, my friend?
Yeah.
Without having to travel to one school and the next school and the next school.
Yeah.
Hey, how's that?
And you know what? Virtual is great. I mean, it allows you and I to connect with each other and all of your viewers from wherever around the world, really. I mean, so it's fabulous what it can do. But for me, it just nothing replaces that in-person experience where
Absolutely.
you can shake hands, you can hug people, you can talk face to face and listen to their stories and really get to connect with them on a deeper level.
You bet. Absolutely. No argument from anyone out there, I don't think.
Well,
I think,
as well, right? As a performer, I
Mhm.
mean, you can play all of your instruments in your studio, and people are like, "Yeah, that's really good." But when you're out there in person, there's nothing like seeing an entertainer like yourself up live.
Yeah, the 10-course meal just isn't the same when it's virtual, and I'm sure the various beverages don't taste quite the same either. But
You're a little cheaper at home.
yeah, so tell us more. Yeah, a little bit, and tipping is optional there. So tell us more about this website. What else can one find on here? I see some videos and some good stuff on there.
Yeah, and you know what? I mean, on most of the pages, I have a few different videos that are happening. So you can click on to see if I'm talking about customer service, if I'm talking about a clip from my keynote, if I'm talking about some of the networking, because I do a couple of networking sessions as well, which I believe are a huge part of our customer service. Because once we get our customer service where we want it, we have to be out there connecting with people and getting the word out, because word of mouth marketing is absolutely the best way to build your brand, build your company. So so I mean, I do some consulting as well. If people want to look deeper after they've seen a session, if they want to look deeper at what's going on with their specific company or departments and that, then I can actually, come in, spend some time with them, see what employees are going on, see if there's any negativity happening, see if there's any systems in place that may not work as well for their customers as they think. And I think that's one of the biggest mistakes companies make now when they're changing policies and procedures. They try and make it easier, and they say, "Oh, we've updated this and this, and through customer experience." Well, all they've done is make it easier for their employees, and they frustrated their customers. So a lot of them times you have to get an outside point of view to see, because you're too close to your business sometimes.
You bet.
Yeah.
Let's watch this clip together here. It's really watching Mr. Russ Dantu in action here. So let's grab that coffee that you have on hand there, folks, and let me know, Russ, if you can hear the audio clearly.
It had been the toughest of years. I was in the middle of a 2-year divorce. I had lost a 6-figure income job, and I needed a vacation. I said, "Look, here's my credit card. I don't care where I go, just book it for me." He said, "Sir, I can't help you. If you drive 15 minutes down the road, we have another location that's open till 9. They can help you." And I said, "You're serious?" He said, "Yes." I said, "You realize if I walk out that door, I'm going to go across the street to your competition." He says, "Sir, I'm sorry, I cannot help you. Is it possible I might be a good piece of business for them?" Hi, my name is Russ Dantu. I'm a customer and an employee retention strategist. Happy employees equal happy customers equal happy you. Wow! It's that simple though. If we take care of our employees, they're happy at work, they'll want to be more productive. They'll want to look after our customers. And if our customers are looked after, they'll be happy, they'll want to spend more money with us. And if they spend more money with us, you're going to be happier because everything's come into place just like you planned it when you opened up your business. We need to create that wow factor so that when people come into our business, they want to come back again. They want to refer us to their friends and become loyal raving fans. Within 2 minutes, another cast member came over and gave that little boy an ice cream cone and saved the day from what could have been a catastrophic event for that young boy. And I thought, wow, that's really taking your customer service to the next level. The difference with the great companies, the ones that are delivering exceptional customer service all the time, it's all about the complete customer experience. Ladies and gentlemen, customer service can and will make or break your business.
All right, thanks for sharing that, Dune. You know, I worked with David Papp on that video, and he's absolutely, him and his team are absolutely amazing to work with for creating demo reels. And the thing with being a professional speaker is, just like you know, is a lot of times we're out there, but it's so hard to actually work with companies that will allow a videographer in to set up, and then you got to get all the forms filled out and everything. So getting video is really hard to do. So sometimes you have to hire an outside source and put little clips of everything you do together in that. So, but whenever I can, I hire a videographer as well to get other things. And on my YouTube channel, you can see, I think I've got about 50 or 60 different clips on there as well, short clips.
You know, my friend, Adam Kidd. Do you know Adam Kidd by any chance from the Edmonton area? He was just on the show last Thursday, I think it was. And Adam Kidd is actually a movie maker, a documentary editor, and he does work for all of the big, some of the movies and documentaries and intro clips and all of that stuff. And for him to say nice video, Adam, that means a lot coming from a video, movie maker that is quite successful and busy here in the area. So
yeah, well, thank you, Adam. Thank you very much for that. Appreciate it.
He does some very innovative stuff, 3D movies, like a video that you can actually pan as you watch. You can actually pan and actually change your perspective as you watch. Yeah, so that's pretty cool stuff. And so thank you, Adam. Tell us more, Russ. I'm going to fast forward to today, kind of just looking at today. As you look out for the next year, what are you focusing on, my friend? What are you focusing on the next year here with COVID? Hopefully, being under control at some point.
Yeah, you know what? Right now, I did a webinar for sort of general public just a few weeks ago. It was called the 3 R's to Resiliency, Dealing with Change During a Pandemic. And it was the 3 R's were learning to relax, reflect, and reinvent. So when COVID first came out, I was probably like a lot of other people. You're panicking, you're not sure what to do, you're moping around a bit because your business has just gone in the toilet. You're scared because how am I going to make the mortgage payments? How am I going to make my truck payments? Very real things for a lot of people out there. So then after about a week of moping and having a little pity party for myself, I said, okay, enough is enough. Let's look at this, because usually most of the time my days would go, I'd get up at 4:30 or 5 in the morning. I'd jump out of bed. I'd come right into this office here. It's right next door, my office is. I'd start working right away. And then usually at about, about 5:30, 5:45 in the morning, I head to the gym Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And I'd work out there for an hour with a group of people and a trainer in some of the classes. I'd get back, have my breakfast, and then I'd work. And I'd work till about 5 o'clock, go for a walk with my wife, and then back in the evening. I had multiple meetings and events that I had to be at and everything. But with COVID, it was like all of a sudden I had this wonderful gift presented to me, and that was time. Time, something I hadn't had for so long. So the first thing I did was said, you know what, it's okay to relax a little bit more. You don't have to be up at 4:30 or 5 every morning. So I started sleeping in till 5:30 or 6. This morning I was up at 5 again and working, and then at the gym and everything. But I took a little bit more time for myself. If I was watching a bit more TV, I didn't worry about it. The second thing I did was reflect, because I really needed to look at, it would be easy to focus on how poor the situation was and how scary it is. But when you think about it, we've got it pretty darn good compared to a lot of people. When I think about our parents and grandparents, what they went through. Quick story with my mom. She was born, I'm from England as well, but she was born in England, and she had her mom and her dad and her sister that she lived with in a town council house. So it was they got a reduced rent and everything. And then they had my grandfather's brother and wife and 3 kids come and live with them. Now, this is a small 1,000 square foot, 2-story place. It had 3 bedrooms, 1 bath. And the way back, the 1 bathroom, I should say, the way they actually had like the portable tub. So the way it worked back then is they would set up the tub once a week, and they'd fill it up with water, hot water, and the men got to shower or bath first, and then the women would, and then the boys would, and then it was left for the girls. So my mom was always left till the end. So most of the time, my mom would just, she hopefully get some fresh water. That always didn't happen, but she'd have the sink, just like they do in some third world countries still, right? Where you had your bar of soap and your cloth, and you wash yourself and everything like that. So when people complain about COVID and what it's done to their lifestyles and that, I think we need to look back. So I started reflecting on everything good in my life, and I tried to think of 3 things every day. One would be business, one would be personal, and one would be an object that I had, just some things that I'm so happy that I do have, and I was fortunate for, and I would be very grateful about that. The third R was about reinventing myself, and I shared that as well with the group I spoke to a couple of weeks ago. And it's just like we've got this gift of time. We can sit around and watch Netflix or YouTube videos and not do much of anything. Or we can say, look, I'm going to reinvent myself. So what did I do? It's like, well, I can't go to the gym anymore. So I set up my own gym downstairs with what I had. And from all of the classes I've taken, there's tons of exercises you can do with very, very little weights. And still get a really good workout. So I started doing that. I can't run anymore because I have bad knees. The second thing I did was I said to my wife, who was one of the lucky ones that was still working very, very full time, I'm going to start taking over all of the cleaning of the house and everything, because we used to have a cleaner come in every 2 or 3 weeks. And I don't clean nearly as good as our cleaner, but I do, and I've been trying really hard on that. The other thing I did was I started cooking, and usually my wife would cook almost all of the meals, and I've started making, I'll just look up recipes online, and I start making really, really good meals. My wife said to me last night, she says, I am getting so spoiled with you cooking. And I said, you know what? I'm enjoying it. I can turn on the TV in the kitchen, and I can start chopping vegetables and doing whatever, and I'm happy. Yeah. So those are 3 of the things I did personally. The other thing I did professionally was let's use this time to beef up my sessions. So I'm doing a lot more research and reading on some of the areas that I need to beef up my presentations when I get into full day presentations. Usually I've built my modules on 1 and 2 hours on each of the different aspects of customer service, but sometimes I get customers that say, hey, we don't want a half-day session for our employees, we want a full day. So I need to bring in a lot more brainstorming and information. So that's what I'm working on right now. And I'm still getting outside and connecting with some of our CAPS friends. Going for a walk in another week with Patricia Morgan.
Yeah.
I was out for a 26-kilometer bike ride with Dwayne Peace.
Wow.
The week before, I was out for a nice lunch with former member Chuck Rose and member Stu Schultz. Walk with Paul Carpino, Andrea Davis. So just
there you go.
I can to keep connected safely.
Yeah, you actively engage with the members here in your role as president of our chapter there. Now, a question for you. So I think it's more of a sentiment, actually, more than a question. It seems to me like you looked at COVID and you say, how can I reinvent myself? How can I sort of make my life and my family's life better and the life of my colleagues better, rather than, some people have this big goal of, I'm going to change the world. Well, the fact is that one of the best way to change the world is to change ourselves, right? And so you focus on that. You didn't focus on the heavy burden of, how can I change the world? Because the world is a little bit bigger than what we can all muster, but we can definitely change ourselves, and sounds like you've done that.
Yeah, absolutely. Just like you probably had all this freedom of a little bit more time on your hands and that, and I bet you're fine-tuning some of the things you do as well, right? Yeah.
Interestingly enough, COVID, I'm actually busier than I have ever been. So busy that I see it as an opportunity. I see COVID impacting all of us and changing the world as we know it, as we see it rolling out. so then I say to myself, what can I do within this new context? So in my case, I still have the same, clients, and the same work that I've been working on is still there, which means I actually have to carve out time to actually do this. And I'm doing this every weekday. So I have to carve out time. I block my client meetings so that it can't happen during this time here. And I go at it. But yeah, every time there's the world change, there's always new kind of things that you could do. And so I looked at it and figured this is what I wanted to do, partially to connect the community, and partially to also help kind of round out the skill set as well.
Yeah. Well, thanks for what you're doing, Dune. I mean, it's awesome that you're getting so many people lined up to participate in this.
Yeah, I think you are, I haven't counted lately, but you are number 60 something, probably 68 guests or so. So 68 guests have been on here, and we have another 20 lined up, 20 some lined up here. And I'm going to decide, but I think I'm going to book into September. At this point, I'm just booking into the end of August, but we'll see. But tell us more, my friend. I'm going to maybe go back to your website very briefly as a backdrop for you to maybe tell us more about some of the stuff that you do, and more importantly, some of the stories or thoughts that you can pull out for our viewers who may benefit from that. So when we look at this here, and I'm looking at consulting here as a sort of an area that you do. Tell us about that. What does the typical consulting assignment look like for you when you work with organizations?
Okay, well, thank you for that. And it can be different things. Sometimes they'll just say, hey, can you have a look at our policies and procedures, the way we're doing things when we interact with our customers? Can you offer some more advice on the team building? Or can you just come in and have a look, spend some time with all of our employees and get a feel for how our culture is? So that's what I'll do, is whatever they need me to focus on. And then what I'll do is I'll spend some time, and I usually like to spend time talking to a minimum of 5 or 6 employees, so I get a really good feel. And it's not just department heads; it can be, frontline staff, it can be behind the scenes staff as well. So you get a really good overall picture, so that I get a good feel for their company. And then I'll spend a couple of hours digesting everything and sort of diagnosing where I think maybe they could improve in that. And then I'll go back, and then we'll look at implementing a few small changes. And I think that's the biggest thing that you have to do with change, is change small, change often. Which actually, that was from the 1999 world champion of public speaking, Craig Valentine. That was his saying, but he's allowed me to use it as well. Change small, change often, because the biggest problem businesses have, and if you take mergers, for example, where 2 companies come together or one buys out the other one, they put all of these changes into place right away, and there's like 14 or 15 changes, and the employees are like, it's too overwhelming for them, so they end up leaving, or they'll be very unhappy, or they won't get on board, and it just makes that fight so much harder. So I can come in and help them deal with change if they are going through that as well. So that's sort of the things I do with the consulting side of it. Yeah. Usually, and I do specialize in speaking to municipalities, so they have their own set of challenges when you think about it. People have to deal with them whether they like it or not, for certain things. And usually it's not nice things. You get a ticket and you got to go pay the ticket. You got to pull a permit to build something. You're upset with the guy that's coming out and shoveling the snow on your roads and things like that. So they have some unique challenges that they have to face and everything. So
yeah, in some ways it's a thankless job, isn't it?
Yeah, I really believe it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is your sort of customer service keynote here, and no pressure, but any of those you like us to click play on, my friend? There are 3 sort of videos there.
Let's do keep it professional.
All right, let's keep it
piece as well. All 3 of those are.
Let's keep it professional, and let's see how that goes.
Keep it professional. Yeah. Make sure you go home at night, not somebody else's place. Okay? There's a lot of this that goes on, unfortunately, and it's not just men hitting on ladies, it's ladies hitting on men as well, right? We get a little bit of alcohol in our system, we get a little friendlier, a little bit more courage, Yeah, so keep it professional. You're the face of your business, so whatever event you're at, you have to keep it professional.
There you go. Probably good advice. I'm kidding.
Yeah, I was speaking. That was when I was speaking for Fluor, the big engineering firm,
Yeah.
and they've got a facility down here in Southeast Calgary. So we had about 45 people out that
Yeah.
night and everything. But it's surprising, when you go to networking events,
Mhm.
it's not a dating site, and it seems like a lot of people do treat it like that. It's amazing when you start looking around and you're watching and you're like, oh my goodness, is that
Yeah.
person really hitting on that person? And and you add alcohol and we become different people sometimes, especially if you're somebody that drinks a little bit too much alcohol at networking events. So, and it's the saddest thing because you are the face of your business,
Yeah.
and as much trust as you've built up with your colleagues and your customers and your community, one slip up and you've got so much work to do to get that trust back again. So you
Yeah.
really have to think about the name on the sleeve of your company, and you better be on your best behavior and doing what you're supposed to at networking events, which is networking and not trying to pick up people or hit on people or do
Yeah.
silly things like that or make a
Yeah.
fool out of yourself. Yeah.
Keep the main thing the main thing. Now, some of your books are here. It's
Yeah.
always nice to have an author in conversation here. Tell us about some of these books here. We mentioned it in the intro a little bit, but anything else to share? What was your experience with your book writing journey? Was it a fast one? Was it a low, painful one? Slow, painful one?
Yeah, you know what? I worked with a former CAPS member, Chuck Rose, because he had just recently written his book, and he said, Russ, he said, I will help you write a book in what was it? In 5 months, you'll have your book written. I think it was, and he said, what you need, and this is great for anybody that's thinking about writing a book. Write down 25 chapter titles. And I ended up, I only think I had 18 or 19, but if you can get 25 chapter titles and then you do 2,000 words per chapter, you'll have a 50,000 word book, which works out to about a 150-page book. It's still small enough you can mail it properly without costing a lot of extra money, and yet that seems to be sort of the standard for how long your book should be, about 150 pages or 50,000 words. So what we would do is, he says, so we're going to do a chapter a week, so 25 weeks we'll have your book written. So a chapter a week. What I had to do was I had to write at least 2,000 words. Then he would go over it and he'd question anything or he'd add some feedback to anything. And then we discussed which chapter I was going to work on next. Now, you didn't have to go through chapter 1, then 2, then 3. You could skip from 1 to 14, then back to 7, then to 10, whatever was coming naturally to you. So writing the book was a wonderful experience, and it was very easy to do when I had that system in place through Chuck. What was tough to do was, or tough to hear, was the editing and the grammatical errors and that. I mean, it's been a long time since I took English in school, and it was like, wow. But I mean, Chuck did say from the outset, he said, just start writing and typing and don't worry about the grammar. Just go, get it down on paper. And I didn't type, actually. I actually handwrit first and then I would type.
Okay.
I just work better when I've got a pen in my hand, more ideas to flow. Yeah.
Nice. Cool. Now, just before I forget, I heard a sort of a notification ding from your computer. You might have your email loaded on your computer or something that would generate a notification every so often, like a you got mail kind of a thing.
Right. Okay.
So we hear that over here as well.
Okay.
So,
I closed it out.
Cool. So good. So how many books did you write all in all? Is it 2 or 3 or 4?
Well, you know what? I was a co-author. I had a chapter in another book called Go Ahead and Laugh. And it was a whole bunch of speakers that put in humorous stories, and then it was dissected all the different humorous techniques that were being used.
Yeah,
that one's there as well. But the other one I did was the Service Excellence CD. That right there. So I had that professionally recorded at what was the name of the studio? FM 97.7 here in Calgary. And a gentleman there, you can actually go in and you can use their studios. I've got 2 of them there. One is a small studio, so it was perfect. for me to actually record all of the chapters onto CDs. That was done quite a while ago. But they also had a bigger room as well where you could actually go in. If you were a musician, you could go in with your band or whatever and record professional songs there as well. So it was a really cool experience. But I'll tell you what, it's tough when you're writing all the material out and then being in a studio and actually reading it at the right pace and having the right inflection on the words and everything. It takes a lot of work. So that one took a long time to put together. I just wasn't as motivated.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know, as they say, you know, doing it's kind of just put together is not a lot of work, but to try to get it to a point where you're happy with it. And there's a whole lot of time and effort involved in sort of incremental improvement from there, right?
Yeah.
So I would love to. We're going to leave the website in just a moment here, but I'm going to put you on the spot and tell me which one of these video testimonials you like us to play, just for fun. Which one of these video testimonials? Are we on the right page yet, or is it still loading? I think there it is.
It's still loading, yeah.
Is there one that you want to hit play on, my friend? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Let's see here. Where do you go, number 3?
All right, number 3. That's the popular number. So there we go.
For quite a while. This was another event I did. I forget where it was now, but yeah.
Number 3 resonate with you for now? Let's play it.
It was a public
I
event.
just had a wonderful evening listening to Russ Dantu tell story after story that illustrated customer service. I learned so much. I learned about random acts of kindness. I learned about employee retention. And the stories will stay with me. They will stick with me. And I will remember the story about booking travel. I will remember the story of the broken guitar and how United Airlines finally rose up and reimbursed the person appropriately. Thank you so much, Russ, for an amazing, entertaining evening where I learned so much to apply to my own business as a coach. Thank you, Russ.
Wonderful. Fantastic.
Wow. I didn't want to hear very much.
So tell us, my friend. I'm going to sort of step sideways a little bit and sort of move on to, in fact, stories. Do you have a story in all of your career, in all of the different sort of parts of your career, whether it's in the, sales business or products, and whether it's in training and coaching and speaking, whether it's in whatever, all the different careers, whichever one you want to think about. But do you have a highlight story? And then I'm going to ask you for a low light story. So tell us 2 stories. And the stage is yours, my friend. And unlike Toastmasters competition, you have as many minutes as you like to tell this story.
Oh my goodness. You know what? I've got a few signature stories I use depending on the audience, and I have a story file as well. So anytime something happens or that I want to use for my newsletters or for that, then I keep it in a file and I go back to them. But I think the biggest one, this is a feel bad, feel good story. So it was many years ago. I had a brand new Dodge Ram pickup truck. And I say brand new. So I had it for about 7 years, and I took it down the street to our local auto mechanic. We'll call him Cal. A big hint for you there. And I took it in there because it was making a little bit of noise underneath the back end. It had a little bit of a rattle to it. And I needed a tune-up and everything. So Cal did an inspection of it, and he came back to me. He goes, Russ, he said, your back brakes, you have to do them now. We're not going to let it out of our shop until it's done. Your front brakes are almost worn. They need to be done. Your shocks are shot. That vibration in your rear end, we've got to take your rear end apart. We've got some issues there. You need to have a radiator flush done. You need a transmission flush done. And, you got a cracked windshield. So we've got all of this stuff to do. And I'm like, wow, I thought it was just a little bit of a shake and the rest of the stuff wasn't too bad. I said, so how much are we looking at? And he goes, well, and he turns the sheet to me. He goes, we're highly recommending you get everything done on this sooner than later. And it was about $5,000. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I don't have $5,000 to spend. And my truck's, I don't know. I don't even know if it was 7 years old at the time. But I said, you know what? I got to think about this. So I got my back brakes done, and I got a couple of flushes done. I spent about, I don't know, it was $800 that day. I said, but the rest of it, the other 4,200 or change, I said, let me think about it for a few days. And then the next day I was at a networking event, and I met a gentleman that has his own Napa store, Kirkham Auto Pro, and he's a Napa franchisee. And he said, Russ, and it's the first time I ever met him, Rob Kirkham, fabulous man. He says, I said, I've got some issues in the rear end of the truck and some other stuff going on. I said, I've had a quote. I'm not going to tell you what they've said. Would you put it up on the hoist and have a look? He says, absolutely. So he puts it up on the hoist, and then he does his thing and everything. And he comes back and he goes, well, he said, your front brakes are fine. They're, you've got about 50% left. He said, your shocks are looking remarkably new still. You don't have to do anything there. He says, that shake you've got, he says, it's a little bushing that happens in the Dodge trucks. He says, it's a $2.50 part, and then about $100 in labor for us to actually take things apart and put it back in there. And then he said, what about this, and this? He goes, nah. He says, watch that stuff for the next 6 months. He says, but you really don't need to do anything else. So I think I spent $245 with him, got it fixed. I take his paperwork and Cal's paperwork, and I go back to see Cal, and Cal's like, oh, you're here, good. Can we book you in and get all of this done? And I said, Cal, let's just go through this again. You're saying I need all of this work done. And you're going, yeah, we're highly recommending that, Russ. And I said, here's what I just had done. And he did another inspection, and he's disagreeing with everything you're saying. So something's not right here. And he goes, well, you know, we believe in preventative maintenance. We strongly suggest you get these things done. I said, some of these things are only sitting at 50% worn. Yeah, but you know, when they get to 50%, they're going to go soon. So you might as well get them fixed ahead of time. I said, Cal, I will never use your services again. And I've been a loyal customer of Kirkham Auto Pro since that time, and that's probably going on, 11 years now. And you know, I rave and rant about him as much as I can. I've put so much business his way, and he still takes care of me today. So yeah.
So again, sort of honesty and transparency, and don't overinflate stuff. I mean, tell them where we are today, and you know, I hear you. Great. Well, thank you for sharing that. But my friend, you're not off the hook yet. What I was looking for was actually
from you, Dune.
What was that?
How about we hear a story from you?
Oh, that's another day, my friend. When you get to interview me, we can do that. So here's the thing. I was hoping to hear a story about your particular career, any sort of thing that you want to share, leaving the names of the innocent out of it, but really a sort of your own career experience. Tell us with, you know, the highest high of your career. Is there a story behind that where you say, that was an awesome day, that was an awesome, you know, kind of milestone? That's what I was hoping to get. And then do you have a low point of your career? We all do. Do you have a low point of your career that you don't mind sharing? It could be second lowest point if you don't want to share the lowest point, but we'll be left to guessing, is that the lowest or the...
All right.
But that's where I was aiming, my friend.
Okay. So my high point would be, I was speaking for Volkswagen down in Las Vegas. I think it was 2016. And I was the only Canadian presenter there. They picked you up in a limo. They gave me this big room with an L-shaped couch and 3 TVs. And I had to speak about customer retention. Now, Volkswagen, as many of you know, got caught with their emissions a few years ago. So their trust level went way, way down. So we had 1,200 service managers, general managers, and customer service managers in the room. So we had to do a panel discussion, which was really cool. And then I had to run the same 1-hour session over and over and over 7 times over a day and a half.
Oh, wow.
And what was amazing on site was I had more than 4 or 5 of managers from different branches across the U.S. and a few from Canada that came up and said, that was exactly what I needed to hear. That was, loved your material, loved your energy in that. And by far, you are the best speaker we have seen down here. And I thought, okay, well, 4 or 5, maybe they're just, extra friendly or whatever. But then I did actually get the results back. They did an extensive survey where all of their 1,200 had to come in. And I was the favorite, highest ranked speaker out of all of the speakers there. And I think they had 14 or 15 speakers there over the 2 days. So that made me feel super, super good. That was a high part of my professional speaking career. A low part also.
Now, before you get into there, I was going to comment. Volkswagen, is it German, right? The parent company is German, right?
Yes. Yeah.
I was going to say the Germans love you, my friend. I want to make sure I was correct about the company ownership before. I'm sure it was their North American office you spoke to, or I was just kidding. So tell us more. The other story. What could be a possible kind of low light of your career?
Well, a low point, and this goes into my other business with the branded promotional products and corporate apparel. And this happens very, very seldom, but I messed up an order, and I felt absolutely awful. I had a lady call me from I think it was a dental clinic, and they were looking for gift bags. They were putting on a special event. Talked to her on the phone. I said, yes, I'll send you some links. I sent them some links on all different things. And then she got back to me and she said, I think we like this one. I said, okay, that's great. And then I sent her the pricing and everything. Didn't hear back from her. A week later, I sent another follow-up email. Didn't hear back from her. So I left it alone. This does happen occasionally where people are just like, oh, yeah, we're not going to do that. We're going to do something else. So I left it alone. 3 days before her event, she called me and said, where are my bags? And I'm like, you never got back to me. I've got emails here. I sent them to you and I was waiting to hear from you. I figured you went somewhere else. And she blasted me. She went up one side of me and down the other and made me feel like the most insignificant person. And I had 2 things I could have done there. I could have said, you know what, this is your fault because you didn't get back to me. But no, it was on me. I should have picked up the phone and followed up that one extra time to make sure where we were on this order and everything, but I didn't. So what I said to her was, if I were in your shoes, I would be as mad as you are right now with me. I said, I don't make mistakes often, but I messed up. I said, so I feel awful. I'm absolutely sorry this happened, but here's what I'm going to do. The supplier we were going to get the bags from, I can get this shipped in air overnight. I can get them to produce it air overnight, and I won't charge you anything for the air freight or anything for the freight, and I'm going to give you a free setup on it. And she said, you do that? I mean, she was literally screaming at me, and all of a sudden there was silence. She said, you do that? And I said, absolutely. I said, it's Wednesday now. Your event is Friday. She said, you better have the bags here by the end of the day tomorrow. So on the Thursday, I delivered them at 12:30 to her office. So she was all happy. The event went on. The unfortunate thing was she would never answer phone messages or emails with me after that. So I did everything in my power to correct it. And sometimes that happens, right? Everything in your power to make it right. And sometimes they'll still walk away, but it's still the right thing to do. You've always got to try and fix the mistakes when they happen. And thank goodness I'm very careful and they rarely happen. But when they do, I just take ownership of it and do what I can to make the customer happy.
Cool. Absolutely. As they say, the only person we can really control is ourselves. We can't control how others feel about it and other people's action. We can only control our own, right? So good on you on that. Thank you for sharing those 2 stories. You see, wasn't that painful?
Wow.
Now, I just want to double check. I think I mentioned to you that sometimes some of our guests go over time beyond the 1 o'clock mark. Do you have an appointment where you need to be, or do you have a bit of flexibility, my friend?
I still have a few minutes if you'd like to keep on going, but man, I've told you more than I've told most people. So
see, there you go. See what?
To you?
Yeah, strange things happen when you go on the internet. Well, I'm going to keep on cruising for quite a bit longer, and we'll see. You'll tell me when you need to go.
Okay. I've got about 10 minutes. Does that work for you?
I was hoping for more, but that's okay. 10 minutes is okay. By the way, I also teach negotiation, but that's okay.
Well, there
That's
we
just
go.
another thing. We're among friends here. We're among friends here. So tell us about your, um, when you think about the speaking industry, if we can call it that, the event industry, what's
Yeah.
your take on it? So let's say we're done with COVID. COVID becomes a memory, a historical thing. We can look back and say that was COVID, just like we did looking back and say that was World War II, or that was World War I, or that was, some huge event that clearly changed the world. So when we look back, let's just say we're at that point. Tell us your view on what that world looks like. Any elements or any sort of thoughts that comes to mind as you think about the post-COVID world for the speakers, trainers, and entertainers that we are?
Yeah. You know what? I think you're probably like me and a lot of other people out there. You're probably getting zoomed out. All these meetings that are going on online, they're fabulous where they've kept us connected and they've sort of helped us over that bridge. But there's going to come a time very soon here where people are just going to be, I'm already craving it, those in-person meetings. So what I see moving forward, and I've actually done this a few times, excuse me, a year or so ago, where they did a hybrid event. So I was brought in to speak, and there was, 40 people in the audience, but then they also zoomed it live, and they had another 12 people on there. So you had to get creative in the way you interacted so that it wasn't just your in-person audience, but also that. I think we're going to see more hybrid events happening now, but I don't think full-on virtual meetings are going to replace the in-person events. There's just so much rah and energy when everybody's in the room that I think people are going to be craving that, and that's what we're going to get back to. And I think it's going to happen a lot sooner than later. I know a lot of people are saying it won't be until 2021, but I think there's going to be some action late this fall. I really do. And a lot of times I work with smaller groups, 25 to 50 people. So there's groups out there right now that are able to do it. I'm glad they're not doing in-person meetings right now, because I think we do need to wait just a little bit longer. But before long, it's going to happen.
Yeah. But by the way, we must be reading from the same playbook, because I've been saying a similar thing, and that is, of course, in-person events are precious. We will never get tired of that. We always crave that, and we, in some ways, COVID has made us aware just how precious it is. So that's one thing. The other thing is, I think the blended event or hybrid event, whatever you call it, is in fact the way of the future. And the other day I was just comparing it to, this blended event or hybrid event has always been in place, but it always took a lot of money and a lot of expertise. For example, David Letterman is a hybrid event. So you got studio people and it's broadcasted to a much bigger audience. Oprah Winfrey is a blended event. You got a studio audience. So these things have been like that for decades. But the problem is you and I could not put up something like that. But with the new technology and where we're heading here with all of that stuff, it is a blended event, hybrid event for the mass. It really is a lot more doable these days. Tony Robbins did one where he has, hundreds of screens behind him for all of the, the hundreds of, monitors on the stage, hundreds of them. Clearly, we don't have to be in that scale to kind of still be valuable. So I think the whole blended event or hybrid event is going to be really an important thing to keep in mind. But I was going to also ask you briefly, when it comes to your own work here. Actually, maybe before we go there, I was just going to mention that one of our fellow speakers in the States actually had a live event already. What they did was 4 seats to a table. And they do all the protocols and whatnot, and they already, this is the US, already got that, like I think it was last week or something like that. I see photos of it already. Now, we can all debate and say, is that too soon and whatnot? But that, to your point, is going to be probably sooner than 2021, is why I said that.
Yeah, I think the only thing, like you say, that's going to be interesting, just talking on that one in the States and that, if you only have 4 people to a table, all of a sudden a room that fit your audience before, now you're going to need probably double or triple size the room.
You bet, you bet. What he had is he had a really big room. He had a room that, let's say the year before, would have had hundreds and hundreds of people. This time, clearly, it probably have about, let's just say, well, typically a table is like 8 or 10 people, right? So
Right.
4 to a table, that's roughly speaking, let's say 40% normal capacity, let's say, right? Roughly, yeah.
Yeah.
So, 40, 50% capacity. Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell us more about your the work that you're doing these days as you are working through COVID. You have a combination of things. Is your business, your product business, picking up? Is what I heard. Is that right?
It is starting to pick up, because I do have some customers of mine that are mandatory workers. They're frontline workers, not in the sense where they're working in hospitals and that, but in the construction field. So fire, flood, restoration, hailstorms, when that sort of thing happens, they have to hire a lot more people to go in if there's fires and that, help gut out houses and that. So I've got some big companies in there. So they're starting to order things again. The PPE, the personal protection equipment, been selling a fair bit of that. That was something I've never sold before, or something I even wanted to get into selling. But when times are tough, you got to go where the money is, and try and make a little bit here and there. So that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Doing something active every day. So I was at the gym at 6 o'clock this morning. I'm golfing at 4:10 today. Walking 18 holes, so I'll get a good round of exercise in today. Like I said, I'm trying to get out and meet with colleagues at least once a week if I can, socially distancing and that. But I also like to gather with a few more people and that, friends. We're just being very careful about it. So I'm going with the flow. I'm getting some projects done around the house that have been sitting here on my wife's to-do list for 6 or 7 months. She's happy. Trying some new things. So it's been fun. It's been an interesting time. It's been a little bit scary, but it's all about our attitude, I guess. Like we were talking earlier, how you look at it, right? You can be negative and worried about things you have no control over, or you can say, this is what I can do now, and I'm going to make this a positive experience, and I'm really going to improve who I am because of it. So one thing I am doing, okay, now I sometimes speak about dealing with change, all right? That's part of my repertoire of customer service topics. So a little over a year ago, a good friend of mine, a very good friend of mine, he used to be my boss in Edmonton, had a massive stroke. He wasn't found until about 7 hours after. So it wasn't good. We thought he was going to die. He's still alive today. I was actually texting with him today because I'm going to try and get up to Edmonton to see him in a few weeks. But he's now in a wheelchair. He's lost half of his ability on half side of his body. Luckily, it was the left-hand side and not his dominant hand. But it got me thinking, because he was only 57, a really young guy. And I thought, I'm 53. That could happen to me as well. So I tried, and I thought, what would that do? What would I have to change if I lost my dominant side? So for a little over a year now, I've been brushing my teeth with my left hand instead of my right hand. And I tell you, the first month it was painful trying to brush your teeth, and took 4 times as long. But now the left hand is like as good as my right hand, right? Now I've taken it up a step. I've started to shave this thing, which I have to shave every day. I'm only doing it about once or twice a week now, but I'm shaving with my left hand with a sharp razor. Now my right hand, I can go pretty quick, and my left hand, I don't want to go as quick. But it's starting to come. So I'm teaching myself to deal with change, and I hate change. I'm probably one of the worst people with it. But if we force ourselves to do things while we've got this free time on our hands, if we change some of the things we do and really force ourselves to stick with it, it'll pay dividends when we have to deal with change, at work. And sometimes that happens when management says, hey, things are changing around here, get on the bus or get off. So
Hey, my friend. Being a customer service expert, I'm going, that you are. I'm going to see if our viewers can get some free advice from you here. This
Right?
is free advice with the doctor without visiting the doctor. So take it with a grain of salt, folks. But I'm going to ask you, imagine of all the customer service groups that you work with and all the companies and corporations and government and whatnot, municipalities, and the kinds of common themes that you have to deal with in terms of the typical issues. Do you have some themes to kind of highlight for our viewers and listeners out there and say, when it comes to customer service, it's these three big things that people tend to stumble over. And so if you focus on these three big things, you're more likely to be better off in customer service. And then, of course, get Russ in there to help you with it, all the details of implementation and strategizing. But are there themes that you can draw out for our folks?
I'll give you a couple for sure. I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
but I'll give you a couple for sure. The first thing is we need to throw ourselves on the other side of the counter and put ourselves in our customers' shoes to really understand what they're going through when they have issues with us. And we're on this side of the counter day in, day out. We know how our business run and everything we've got to do in the day, and we can become sort of cold and callous to what our customer is experiencing. So we have to jump on the other side of the counter and think about what the experience must feel like to them in order for us to change the way we talk to them. And, it's all about learning the different personalities of people, whether they're, very direct and they just I need this figured out now. Maybe they're a little bit more social. They want to shoot the crap with you a little bit first. Almost slipped with a word there. Sorry. Maybe they're, they want to be part of the in crowd and that. So when they're looking at buying stuff, so you might have to talk about who's using this product and how many of it's sold and everything. Or maybe they're very analytical and they want to get down to the nuggets of why this happened this way and what can be done to fix it. So I think we really need to be on the other side of the counter. That's one big thing.
Do you do role playing sometime to facilitate role playing to help that get across?
I have done a little bit of role playing over the years. Now what I usually do is I'll do group discussion. So I'll set up a scenario about a situation that's gone bad, and we'd figure out what the personality style of that person is, what their complaint is, and what we would usually do, and what we could maybe do with some alternatives to solve that to make it all more a more pleasant experience for the customer. Role playing, it's tough getting volunteers for. They're like, oh, they're dragging me up to the front. What are we going to do? I don't know what to do. It's going to embarrass me. Whereas if you do it in a group table and just have one person stand up, everybody's okay with that.
Yeah.
And the second tip I'll leave you with is do what you say you will do. It's pretty darn simple, you would think, but there's so many people that say they're going to do something, and this happened. Jerome, he was a general contractor, and I phoned him about some business, and he said, Russ, can I call you back in 5 minutes? I'm just finishing up with a customer. I said, yeah, that's fine. 5-10 minutes, no problem. Never heard back from him. Never. That was several years ago, right? So if you say you're going to do something, do it. It's the easiest thing to do to keep a customer happy, and it's the easiest thing to do to frustrate a customer if you don't follow through on it. And I think that's where a lot of people fail in business.
You bet. I often talk about, success is often equate to expectations and really, satisfaction, and satisfaction is often the gap between expectation and reality, or expectation and results. So if you make sure that the expectation is reasonable and provide them with results that exceed their expectation, then they're going to be quite happy. But if their expectation is not realistic, and you sort of do not adjust it with them, and you let them believe that that's a reasonable expectation, and then later on do not deliver on it, we tend to suffer as a business, right? Yeah.
Great.
Cool. Well, thank you, my friend. Let me just ask you a couple other questions then. One is, when I reach out to you and say, hey, Russ, you want to chat for an hour and a bit? And you say, yeah, sure. Was there something that you were wanting to share that you haven't shared yet that in our conversation we haven't brought out? I'm just handing the wheel over to you there, my friend. Take us anywhere and I'll be a willing passenger.
Wow.
Anything at all that you want to yak up about?
I think I've done pretty good answering your question so far, but Geez, you're almost catching me off guard with that one where I'm not coming up with anything.
No, if there's nothing specific, that's fine. I just want to give you that opportunity, my friend.
Thank you. I do appreciate that. I think we've covered almost everything that could be covered today.
All right, cool. So then, if that is the case, then as we sort of wind this down, I will ask you to do an interesting and creative exercise that I asked some of my guests do. Now, that's a kind of a foreshadowing thought there. So, in all that you've talked about, my friend, give us 3 words that would help our viewers to remember this talk by. So they think about the conversation that we had. What are the 3 words you would highlight for them? It could be 3 independent words, don't have to relate. 3 words. What's the first word that comes to mind that you want our viewers to kind of say, this kind of describes this talk?
All right. Service trumps all.
There you go.
3 words.
3 words. And in fact, in this case, they're related. They actually make a phrase. So wonderful phrase. Service, service, service. You could have actually said service, 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 which is some real estate people says, location, 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 right?
Service. There you go.
Service, service, service.
I'll remember that.
Right. Well, with that note, I would like to refer you as Mr. Service. Thank you so much for joining us today for an hour and a bit, Mr. Service, Mr. Russ Dantu, all the way from the big city of Calgary there, where they have the greatest show on earth around July this time of the year, other than COVID kind of realities here this time around. But thank you so much for joining us. And to our viewers out there who have been watching and who will be watching in the replay, take good care of yourself, folks. Thank you for your tuning in now and later. Take good care of yourself and take good care of one another. Until we meet again, have a wonderful afternoon, folks. Thank you, Russ.
Thank you, Dune. Thank you so much.